In this week's parasha, we are introduced to the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments, which have become almost the basic staple of morality and law and justice for all of mankind. And the fourth of the 10 Commandments is Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Lakadsho, that you should remember the Sabbath day to make it holy. Elsewhere in the Torah, when the Torah repeats the 10 Commandments in the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, it phrases it differently. There it says, Shamor et Yom HaShabbat Lakadsho, you should guard the Shabbat day to make it holy. And the sages point out that these are two different aspects of the same mitzvah, of the same commandment. On the one hand, you have Zachor, to remember Shabbat. These are things that you have to do actively to recall Shabbat. For example, to make Kiddush, to sanctify the Sabbath day by making a prayer over a cup of wine, to say Havdalah, the prayer at the end of Shabbat. According to Nachmanides, even the way in which the Jewish people referred to the days of the week is a way to remember the Shabbat. We do not have days of the week that have particular names. Rather, the first day is just called Yom Rishon, the first day, Sunday. The second day is Yom Sheni. What do we mean the first day, the second day? We mean the first day until Shabbat, the second day until Shabbat. So even during the week, we are remembering Shabbat, Zachoret Yom HaShabbat. So there are the positive aspects of Shabbat. Then there are the negative aspects of Shabbat. Those things that we must not do on the Sabbath day. We must refrain from doing all of those creative activities which are called melacha. And yet it would seem that there is a third dimension to Shabbat. And this is also mentioned in the Torah, where the Torah tells us, La'asot et ha-Shabbat. You must make the Shabbat day. What does that mean, to make the Shabbat day? And I think the idea behind this is as follows. A person can be Sabbath observant, and yet his or her Shabbat is somewhat lacking. They're doing all of the technical steps. They're not doing work. They're not breaking Shabbat, as it were. They're not doing any of the creative activities. And yes, they're going through the motions of Zachoret Yom HaShabbat, remembering Shabbat. Maybe they're shopping for Shabbat. Perhaps they're also saying Kiddush. So you cannot fault them on a technical basis. But there's something wrong with their Shabbat observance. Go into the home, and there's something lacking. There's an atmosphere that is lacking. And therefore the Torah says, La'asot et ha-Shabbat. You need to make Shabbat. And a lot of this has to do with what is in your mind. Rest is often a state of mind. It's not just about the fact that you're not working, but you have to actively rest. This is put across very beautifully by Rashi himself. The Torah seems to imply that God created the world in 6 days, and he rested on Shabbat. And yet the verse seems also to indicate that God created something on Shabbat itself. Well, what did he create on Shabbat? And Rashi tells us, Ba Shabbat, Ba Menucha. On Shabbat, Hashem created the concept of Menucha, of rest. Now, perhaps you'll say, what do you mean he created the concept of rest? Rest is not something active, it's not something you do. It's just not working. It's something passive. You don't work, you're automatically resting. But we see otherwise, says Rashi, that God created the concept of rest. You have to actively rest. You have to do something to rest. This often happens to people who go on vacation. They're very busy people. They're always involved in work. And they go on vacation. They're in a different place. They're not doing the same thing, but they're not resting either, because they're not in that state of mind where they've moved over from work to rest. And this is what the Torah tells us. Your Shabbat cannot just be technically correct, but you have to make Shabbat. You have to switch off. You have to make as if all of the work of the week is done, even though it isn't. But view it, what I've done this week is over. And now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rest with my family. I'm going to have a real Shabbat experience. I'm not going to think about work. I'm not going to think about my activities. I'm just going to be focused on the time. And that's what the Torah tells us. There's more to Shabbat than just the technical aspects, but you have to make Shabbat actively. And with that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.